Welcome to the Healing Our Sight podcast. I'm your host, Denise Allen. Today, I'm honored to speak with Marie Oswalt, a compliance specialist with the state of Oregon's Paid Leave Department. In 2016, Marie's life was turned upside down by a traumatic brain injury from a car accident. Like so many TBI survivors, Marie faced a long and winding road to recovery, one that included unexpected visual challenges. Her journey led to vision therapy at Pacific University, where she found tools that helped her reclaim her life. Today, Marie is living independently, working, and continuing to grow despite ongoing challenges. Marie, I'm so grateful to have you here to share your story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Denise.
I'm just delighted. I know this will be really important information for people.
Thank you. I'm excited to share. I'm excited to share about my continued journey.
Yeah, it's always a continued journey, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, can you take us back to the day of your accident and tell us a little bit about how everything went down?
Yeah, so I was driving into work. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. I worked outside of McMinnville, Oregon on Highway 99. And so it's a very busy road, busy highway. And I was trying to turn into work, into our driveway. And I was involved in a 3-car accident. And the car that hit me was hit from behind, going northbound. I was going southbound. And the car that was hit from behind was literally thrown across the highway, going 60 miles an hour, and hit me from the side. He was spinning, and I was turning right, and he was spinning and coming at me like a bullet. And he lifted my car up and then slid under it and went into like the railroad track ditch next to me.
Oh, wow.
And it lifted my car up, and my car came down in the same space and bounced, like kind of like it was dribbling.
Wow.
And so I'm in my driver's car seat, and I'm going up and down,
Mhm.
but also front and back. And my head is slamming back and forth on the seat, the head piece of my seat, but also slamming into the moonroof piece of my car because I had a moonroof. So the damage, is done top and back of
Mm.
my head. I woke up. I don't know how long it was, but I remember I was waiting to turn into the driveway of my work, and I saw a semi coming by me, as it should, because I was in a turning lane to go into my work. When I saw the car coming, next thing I knew, I had all the traffic stopped, ambulances were there, coworkers were around my car, the semi was parked up front. It had been a while.
Mm. Wow.
And so that was how the accident happened. And then I was to the hospital, and um, they're more concerned about broken bones
Yeah.
and things. There wasn't really a conversation about my head.
Mhm.
There was like, oh, you could have a headache or this and that. Um, so I was home for 2 weeks and went back to work,
So
drove
you didn't have
myself.
any other injuries then, just the
Yeah,
injury.
yeah. I looked like I was fine,
Mm.
but in that next 2 weeks, things kind of started going off the rails,
Wow.
but I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
So that's the accident.
So they didn't really check out your brain right afterwards.
Mm-mm. They didn't. They didn't do anything like that. It wasn't until I was my 2 weeks. I'm coming back to work. I'm fine. And I drive myself to work, and I get to work and I realize I don't remember driving myself to work. And I get to work and I start throwing up.
Oh, no.
And I worked in the HR department, and my team is like, you don't look good. And I'm like, I don't feel good. And I
Mhm.
and so an hour and a half later, they're like, you got to go.
Yeah.
So I'm like, drive myself home
Oh,
because that's how I was, type
yeah.
A personality. So I drive myself home and I called my doctor and she was like, there's something really wrong. You need to come in.
Mhm.
And so that's when we first started, okay, you've got a severe concussion. She's like, your eyes are, huge. I was standing with a slouch. I couldn't read. I was barely talking.
They didn't check for concussion right after even? That's
No,
crazy to me.
no, that day I went to the hospital and they gave me it's the thing they put you're in the big donut.
Like an MRI?
Yes, thank you. And they're like, we don't see anything. Um, but the top of my head started getting soft.
Oh,
I had hit it so hard that it was like softening.
wow.
And the back of my head, where the ocular area is,
Mhm.
was hit so hard that the bruise was starting to show, but it hadn't shown yet. It was just showing like at that 2 week.
That
And the top of my head got soft and it was the most bizarre thing. It was like a baby's head where it's soft and then it gets soft again. And
Mhm.
it got the whole top of my head became soft. It was the scariest thing that ever happened to me in my life, ever. And so, um, thankfully I feel like I was super, this was just like the hand of the universe that she had done part of her residency in neurology. And she's like, we have to get you into a neurologist. Well, it was a 3 month wait, but
Wow.
I got into a neurologist at the beginning of June. This was March. So I had to wait until actually it was the end of May. But so
And that whole time you really couldn't work then?
no, nope, I was off work. I was doing, my doctor sent me for physical therapy. She wanted me to just be doing like some very passive physical therapy. Um, it took me a couple times of going and reporting back for me to be able to verbalize that the physical therapy that I was receiving was not passive. It was like walking on a treadmill, um, working on the machines and things like this, which was stimulating me um, as I became more knowledgeable, which was difficult to do because I didn't have a lot of function. I wasn't able to drive myself.
Mhm.
My mother was doing all my driving for me. Um, I was heavily medicated. Um, so, I finally was able to verbalize what was really going on in physical therapy. My doctor was like, give me a minute. She stepped out of the room. She made a phone call. She came back. She's like, okay, I want you to take a couple weeks off from physical therapy. Then I want you to go back again. And I met with the director of the facility who had brain injury, physical therapy knowledge, for lack of a better word. I don't know if I'm saying
Yeah.
that correctly,
Yeah, that makes sense.
but she seemed to understand better what my healthcare provider, what my doctor was saying. Okay, this is what Marie needs. This is what we need to do. So there was like um, more appropriate physical therapy, which I can't really remember that early on what I was doing, but it was very passive. It was like I went twice a week. It was like very soft massage, um, just some stretching, things that I couldn't do for myself at home,
Okay.
type of things.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I did that until I got to my neurologist, who then we kind of worked out a little bit of a better plan.
So how long did it take to get to the better plan then?
So that was March to June. And once I saw Dr. James, who is a no nonsense neurologist, he was like, here's the deal. You're at home, you're you're doing nothing, and I mean nothing. And he was like, if I have to call your family members, that's what I'm going to tell you. He's like, you have a major brain injury. Um, if you don't stop, you're going to do you're going to do severe damage that I'm afraid you're not going to be able to reverse,
Yeah.
which scared me, really scared me. And because all I wanted to do was be what I was prior.
Yeah.
I'm a very motivated person. I had taken this job with this company um, to meet some new goals, and I was meeting those goals. And so this accident derailed like everything that I had been working for years and years and years. And all I wanted to do was get back to that. And he said, 6 months, 6 months in bed in a dark room. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. This is what you have to do. If you want to get better, I promise you this is going to work.
Mhm.
And I said, okay. I said, do you really mean like in the bed in the dark room? He's like, well, in your house. Okay. Like, he's like, I don't want you out in the yard puttering around. He's like, I want you in the house
Hmm.
quiet. He's like, you've got to rest your brain. You've got to. He's the first one that talked to me about the whole eye thing that Dr. Laukkanen talked to me about at the vision therapy that I initially eventually got to, is how the eyes, the brain, this intersection. He's like, you just have to shut everything out
Mhm.
because one thing is hooked to another thing. He's like, and the first time that I put it together was I can't ride in a car, and sometimes to this day I can't do this. I can't ride in a car, or I can't drive the car with the radio on
Mhm.
at the same time. Like, I couldn't do that back then.
Okay.
Okay.
Too
Be-
much stimulation at once.
yeah, my brain, it would like, I'd have to pull over. I like, where am I? I didn't know where I was at on roads that I'd been 30 years.
Yeah.
So that was, I started understanding what he was saying. I was like, okay. He's like, if you want to watch TV, turn the volume off.
Mm. That doesn't
I
sound
started,
very fun.
it wasn't. So I put it on old shows I knew. Gone with the Wind, now Voyager, whatever, Casablanca, Idrina G, whatever, anything I knew that I could just watch. And then I also put it like, in the darkest setting of the TV as well. Not really pleasant stuff, but at least something to like take your mind off of what was going on. And then you're also medicated, so you're sleeping a lot. But at least I was starting to get a picture of like what was going on up there. I call it rattling around. Like, there's a lot of stuff rattling around up there. I was starting to get an idea of what was rattling around up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it took a while before you found out that you needed to do something for your ocular processing issue, right?
It did. So I was digging through my papers, because I had this crazy idea someday I'm going to write a book. If I could ever get to the point where I could read a book, maybe I could write a book. Um, and maybe. So I have all my papers, and um, so this amazing cognitive therapist, Melinda Grady, who was just, I don't even know what I would do without her. And I saw her for 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13 and 6, 19. I still struggle with math. 19 weeks. I
Okay.
saw her for 19 weeks. And she was the one that was like, because I was still wearing like my glasses. You know how you have your glasses all set up? You work in the office, you got your glasses set up, you got progressives, you're all hip, you paid however much money for them because they work for the computer and they're all good.
Huh?
And she's like, I think that those glasses are not helping you because she's like, you got progressives and they're all this kind of thing. Plus, they were super tiny and very fashionable,
Well,
and she's
odd.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah. So she's like, go over to your eye doctor. So I went to my eye doctor, who's amazing eye doctor, and checked him out. And he's like, you're looking good and everything. And so I asked him, I said, do you know anything about prisms? Because she had mentioned prisms,
Hmm.
which I'd never heard of before. He's like, no, I don't know anything about that. I'm like, okay. So I came back and she's like, okay, I'm going to refer you over. So I wrote here that I got a referral to the Pacific University Eye Clinic for evaluation. Visual therapy, occipital lobe impact could cause visual triggers, nausea, and vertigo. And I'm telling you, I lived on ondansetron and promethazine. Promethazine, whatever the one with the P is, which was the only way I could sleep. And and it gave me an inability to read, comprehend, understand, and retain. That's my notes I wrote here. I read that and I was like, oh yeah, that's it. That was it.
Yeah.
And so she's the one that sent me kind of she sent me over there. I had to go over to this other place first, but she's basically how I got over to vision therapy. But that had been, 6 months of kind of in the house, letting my brain rest. And then so May, and then 6 months forward, and then from like January of 2017 to like October-ish, I was doing cognitive therapy, acupuncture, and medical massage to get my body strength enough to like do this vision therapy. And I remember going in and doing the evaluation, which is no joke.
Right. I know. They test
I,
everything.
I appreciate you saying that. I didn't know if I was going to make it. And I had to come back a second day because the nausea was so bad, so hard, so hard. But worth it, but just so hard. And I remember talking to Dr. L, and I was like, I was really beating myself up that I hadn't come sooner, which
Yeah.
is my way. And he said, no. He said, you did you did all of this other before. We would have probably had to send you to the cognitive therapy
Right.
and the balance and the physical therapy, because the physical therapy I kind of graduated out of. I did because I went from, the passive therapy to they got me up, they taught me to walk, they put me in the pool, they taught me so I did all of that work before the vision therapy, which apparently I would have had to go do that
Hmm.
before I started the vision therapy, which I forgot about until I was reading through my notes. So that was a really important thing.
There's all these pieces you have to put in place, right? And I did
Thank you.
contact with vestibular specialist, and it's all part of the whole process of doing the rehabilitation of the brain. It's all
Vestibular.
connected.
That's right. And I love that you just said that word. You totally just said the word I had forgotten. It's like I said, some of this has been forgotten in my mind, but the type of therapy that I did was vestibular physical therapy.
Yeah.
That's the type of physical therapy that I was doing. I'd forgotten that word. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Apologize for getting emotional.
Oh no,
But and
I
that's
totally
hard.
understand it because there are certain triggers that get to me also, and when I
Yeah.
was telling my story for my TEDx talk last week, um practicing for it, I gave my talk to my daughter, and my daughter's been on my
Hmm.
podcast too, and she's part of my story, right? And she was in my talk.
Yeah.
And I got so emotional telling it to her, right?
Hmm.
And I said, I don't want to get this emotional when I do You know, that
Right?
all those triggers are there because we lived this experience, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we block things out, and she didn't even remember the experience.
Hmm.
She was little. My other daughter that was older didn't remember it either, and I thought, "Okay, this experience triggered me to make a different choice, but
Yeah.
apparently it didn't damage my children like I thought it had." Right?
Which
But
is that's a true blessing.
yeah, but it's all part of the story, right? And so,
Yeah,
yeah, you
absolutely.
go through each of the steps to get your brain to where it can do the next thing. I think that's the
Yeah,
that, right?
that is the point. That is the point. Is like each step is a step in itself. And you have to go with your gut, like
Mhm.
what feels right at that time. If you need to take a break, take a break. It's
Right.
okay to take a break. I had to learn that. I had
Mhm.
to learn it's okay to take a break. I'm not a good break taker. I am a better break taker now. I'm also an accommodation taker now. Was never accommodation taker in my life.
Yeah.
With this job, I've learned to take an accommodation and it's okay. I've also been, I don't know how I ended up with the supervisor I have now. He's amazing. Um, but I've learned to take an accommodation, which I feel like is a win.
Yeah. That is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, did you find it challenging to figure out what the next step was then because you didn't get all of those next pieces until well, you got them when you needed them, obviously, but
Hmm.
it's not at the beginning of the journey, you don't know where the journey is leading because the doctors
Hmm.
don't say, "Oh, now you need this," until you need it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That is such a great question. So you go through your therapies, you get the glasses, you kind of graduate, right? They're like, you've done your therapies, here's your glasses, go forth, young warrior, and conquer, right? What does that mean?
Right.
And then you're just navigating out there. How fast can you go? How far can you go? Are you failing? I worked with, like I said, I worked with Big Northwest for a good probably year and a half. Um, I worked period for a good year and a half. This was 2018, 2019. So probably all said, probably a good year and a half, I'll say in there. Um, and so you're just, you're kind of working it. So you're kind of working with all the tools that you've gained,
Mm.
and putting them together to see how successful you're going to be. And I was doing pretty good. I was doing pretty good. Um, my doctors all wanted me to take on some um, counseling, so I did that. Um, because with the brain injury comes like all of that stuff, and I had a lot of that stuff, so that needed to be done. So I did that. Um,
Was that, like, for the trauma of it?
yeah, yeah, and my personal so apparent, so yes, so the trauma of it, I ended up with like the PTSD piece of it. I also ended up with um my personality because I had like some severe memory, that short-term memory. I had long-term memory loss, which became short-term memory loss. Thank goodness. I was very thankful for that. Um, and then, but also what came out of it is, and my neurologist talked to me about this because he was like, when he's like, what I've seen, I appreciated how he talked about things because he made it very obvious that, you know, brain injuries are all different
Mhm.
and nobody really knows very much.
Yeah.
And he kept saying that over and over again. And I appreciated that because I had other neurologists that were like, A, B, C, and D is going to happen. And I was like, "Hmm."
Mm.
So, but there were multiple people on my care team. And so I always just kind of stuck with my main neurologist. But you had the guys over here and the guys over here. And I feel like the newer train of thought is, we only know this much. It's not very much. and your brain injury is going to be what your brain injury is going to be. And you can kind of help it along, but it's also going to be kind of what it's going to be on its own terms because
Mhm.
it's your brain injury and your brain is going to heal how your brain is going to heal.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you can accept that, not that you're going to be limited, but if you can accept that your brain is going to heal as it's going to heal and you can help that along, I think that can help propel you. That
Yeah.
makes sense how I'm saying that.
Well, I think
So
let me see if I can restate
yeah,
that.
yeah, please do.
I think what you're saying is that it's important to accept that first of all, that you have a brain injury, that we don't exactly know how things are functioning in your brain based on the fact that you have an injury. No one's brain injury is the same. And we have to advocate for ourselves as far as coming to the solutions, right? We don't necessarily want to sit back and say, oh, I can't do anything because I have a brain injury, right? It's okay, I'm going to take this baby step. And then I'm going to do the next step that I can do because I'm dealing with the symptoms of my brain injury, right? And then
Yes,
as I get better, I'm going to take the next step and the next step until I find all the solutions that are gonna help me and
yes.
get to the point where I feel like I'm a real person again, right?
Yeah, it's like spot on. It's so good. You said that so much better than me. Thank you so much.
No, no, no.
I feel like,
I wouldn't say I
no,
said it better. I'm just,
it's good.
trying, you know.
Yeah, 100%. It's 100%. It's you. Yeah, I don't even need to say anything else about that. That's right there. It's right there.
So you got
That's
connected
so
with
good.
the vision therapy program, and
Yep.
you wanna tell our listeners a little bit about, what your first session was like, what you expected versus what you got out of it? I mean, you talked about the evaluation part, but once you're into the
Yeah.
therapy, what does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I wrote down some notes. Okay, so me first, I gave this some great thought. So I went weekly and I had homework, and that vision therapy was the hardest of everything. Now that I've got the name for my PT, the vestibular physical therapy, that was hard.
Yeah.
But VT so much harder. Um, it would lay me up when I would get home. It would lay me up for like days. But it was so great. And I actually took part in, so I did the vision therapy, and there was different activities. So one activity was because they were specifically trying to get my eyes to um, my eye movement efficiency because I wouldn't like my eyes wouldn't track.
Right.
And I had my right eye still hangs. Like when you look, like if I take a picture of myself, like if I take a selfie of myself, my right eye is off, but
Mhm.
it's not off as much as it used to be.
Okay.
Okay. So that is significantly better. But so one of the vision therapy techniques that we did was a white piece of paper, and it was just letters typed in a line. Let's say there was 10 rows of letters, you know, columns going down, and it was just letters.
Right.
And I was just supposed to read them, and they were just, A, F, D, J, da, da, da. And I was supposed to go down and then go back to the top and then go down and then go back up to the top and go down. And part of the problem was once I got a couple rows in, then I couldn't see them anymore. They just went away.
Wow.
And so as I progressed through, it was like 30, I think I did 35 weeks. I think I did 35 weeks of therapy. I was there for a long time. But as I could go, I had to go across, but I also had to be able to read down.
Uh-huh.
So the goal was to be able to actually read across the line, like, and stick with the tracking. So
So
that
you
was
start
like,
with going down to get your eyes
hmm
used to the movement, and then you'd work over to going across, like when you're reading.
yeah, yeah. And it was like I don't even know. I bet it was 6 weeks before I could do like trying to go across. That first month or two, I maybe two or three lines, maybe. The going up and down, same thing. Like it was so hard. Um, there was something with a pencil, and
Mhm.
that's the one I'm trying to remember. I almost sent a text to Dr. L, and I was like, "What was that exercise with the pencil?" Because it was really hard. I hated it. I
Mm.
mean, I remember going in and I'd see the pencils laying there. I'd be like, "I hate the pencil. I hate the pencil."
Was
It
it
was
the
so
one
hard.
where you have a pencil and you have to draw it into where you can see it? It's not that one, is it?
It might have been. Did you have to hold two of them and you
Yeah, and then
had
you
to
have to
bring them
meet in the
in?
center. It was hard for
Yes.
me too.
I feel like that's the one. Oh, I hated that. It was so hard because
And then it would
this
look
eye,
like chicken scratch because one of them would be, like, all wiggly and yeah.
right? They would move. Yes. Oh, it makes me dizzy thinking about it because of this eye I couldn't see out of this right side. And
Right.
I thought that the right side was really damaged on the left side. But when they got in there, it was really the right side. And that's when I learned that like the left sees for the right and the right sees. I mean, I learned so much. I probably forgot more than I learned, but it was intriguing. Like I learned so much. At the same time, there was a graduate student from Germany that was doing um, like a thesis study. And I found that paper, and that was really hard. And she was using a device used for fixation training. And I was in the part of the program where I got to use the device, and I'd go upstairs and I'd stare into this box and I'd make the dots come together with my eyes.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
man, oh,
That's
oh,
intense.
that hurts so bad. I just would want to throw up. And then the homework for that was, do you remember the 3D glasses? One's blue, one's red.
Mhm.
And we'd have the stuff to put them together, and like when we were kids, and you'd bring them together and you could see them in like 3D version. That was like the homework.
But see, that's the thing that I
And
could never do before vision therapy, so I never
yes,
tried.
so
Yeah, but
that was the
the red
homework.
green glasses is
Yeah,
they send you home with to do exercises at home, right?
yeah. So you
Makes
wear
sense
the
now.
glasses, and then they give you the sheets that are red green, and you have to bring them together and lay them over on each other. But when you take off the glasses, they're not really laid over on each other. They would really be kind of off centered. But because you had the glasses, you were forcing them. It was a whole weird thing. And again, I can't remember. I can't, but it was so hard. And I cleared that as well. That was a really so part of what I'm saying is taking advantage of all of those little, every time I had an opportunity. Yes. Yes. Do you want? Yes. Marie, do you? Yes. I never said no. Yes. Do you want to? Yes. Well, this is kind of crazy. You want to? Yes. Because why not? Right. And hey,
To
do you
try
want
new
to try?
things.
Exactly. I had an amazing acupuncturist. She's like, do you want to try? She's also a Chinese medicine cow. And she started reading about TBIs.
Oh,
She's like, do you want to try? Yes. She's like, yes. She's like, I have this herbal, yes. So I
okay.
got into mushrooms, not mushrooms, but like ashwagandha.
Okay.
And so I started doing ashwagandha tea, which like lifted a ton of brain fog. So
Oh,
that's a little different from vision therapy, but you know what I mean? Just always saying yes.
well,
So that's
it's
my deal.
the whole everything's related piece,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're looking for things that are helping different symptoms, then
hmm
that's gonna help a
hmm
symptom that you're not getting from vision therapy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So those were kind of the exercises, and that was what it was like. Probably the first. Well, because I went weekly, so that first month was getting used to the exercises and the homework. Because you sign a little contract and you got to go. You're in it.
Yes. It's a
So,
commitment. Yes, absolutely.
yes, it is.
So, at what point did you feel that you were getting real improvement and you had a breakthrough that you said, okay, now this is really working for me?
So, I mean, it took a while. So, um, I really didn't feel like I really didn't see, I don't know. I thought about this question a lot and I felt I was struggling. I was struggling all through January, all through February. I think it was more towards the end of February where I was starting to feel like, okay, and it came in that block of letters because I was finally able to like get maybe a third of the way down the page. Just one day. Just one day I was able to get like a third of the way down the page.
Mhm.
And I remember my son and daughter in law now were getting ready to go to Vegas to be married. And it was they got married 2 years after my accident to the day.
Wow.
Um, and they were like, Mom, we're going to Vegas. We're getting married. You're coming. So they're going to put me on a plane. I could barely walk. Didn't have my glasses yet. And they're like, You're coming. I'm like, Okay, I'm going to do this. I was very excited. Um, and so I was like, Okay. So I kind of used that as okay, let's see where I'm at with this trip. Let's see. So I went on the trip, wasn't horrible. It really wasn't horrible. I had a great time. I came back and I think I just needed that little break
Hmm.
from because I had been pushing myself really hard. I came back and all of a sudden, all the pieces of my homework and my weekly therapy, vision therapy, like all of a sudden, bam, like everything just started clicking. It,
Nice.
it was like I just needed a break. And I think that was the first time that I experienced taking a break and seeing that it paid off. That was the first time because I'd never taken a break since my accident. I'd never taken I had just been going and pushing and going. And even though I'd taken that break that Dr. James had said, take a break,
So you're
even
that
that,
person who doesn't take a break ever. Is that what I'm hearing?
yeah,
I'm that person too. And so when
yeah,
my coach said, "Do you need to take a day that you don't practice your talk?" I'm like,
yeah.
"Okay, yeah,
Like, who are you talking to? And who are you? Because you're crazy. Yeah.
yeah." No, I've
Yeah.
heard that. And so then you get that coalescence of all the pieces, right? Everything gets to
Hmm.
together, and then you say, "Oh, now this is all making sense because I
It
took
is.
allowed everything to process."
It is. And I went in and all of a sudden it was like I read like halfway down the page and I did the pencils. And there's a ball on a string. I don't know if you ever had to do the ball on the string. There's a ball on a string and they hold the ball out and you have to hit the ball. It's a little ball and it has little tiny sticky notes with letters on it. Some are little, some are bigger. I hate this ball. Actually, I don't like the word hate. I never let my children use it. I dislike the ball more than I dislike the pencils. The ball
Okay,
became my
it's
nemesis.
just for our listeners, then that's called a Marsden ball, I
The
guess.
Marsden ball.
Yeah.
Yes, it is the Marsden ball. The Marsden ball. And you know what? I love the Marsden ball because it did a ton of help for me. So it's not that I dislike the Marsden ball. It's just very difficult. So I'm grateful for the Marsden ball.
Do you have a
So
love-hate relationship with all of these tools, it sounds
I
like.
do. I do. So I don't dislike any of these. It's just they're so hard when you first start. But this Marsden ball, yes, is the Marsden ball. You're right. Oh my gosh, I forgot that name. Oh, because when
Don't
it's
beat
coming at
yourself
you,
up over the names. It's okay.
okay. Well, I appreciate you reminding me because I think that's just so wonderful. So it's coming back and forth, and you're seeing the letters and they're going past you and left and right. And all of a sudden, I'm getting these letters. I start crying.
Mm, yeah.
And, students were so great because they're so vested with you. And it was at that appointment, and that was probably like the end of March. They were like, "You're ready for your glasses. You're
Mm,
ready for your glasses, Marie." And so we ordered up my glasses, and which was really great. And so I got my first pair of glasses, and they're very amber, and they're very dark amber. I still have them. And Dr. L was like, "You have the smallest prism in here whatsoever, Marie." He's like, "But it's, I had already tried them in the mock-up
right.
like for months and months ago."
Mhm.
And which is, a mock-up glass is really hard to walk in anyway, but I had walked in them and I could walk. And I just cried the whole time walking down the hallway. And so we get my glasses made mid-April, and I'm still in vision therapy, still my 35 weeks of vision therapy. But I put on those glasses, and I'm telling you, that was it. I honestly think it was April 18th.
Mm.
Like the wheels are turning now. Um, and I knew then that with my glasses, that it was going to be a chore, and I was going to have to, there's a long road. I'm not a big lover of it's like the journey, the road, whatever, but I don't know what other word to use.
Right.
But I knew then that I was going to be able to do it. Like
Mm,
those glasses, that was it. That was my lifeline,
yeah.
right? Like those glasses were my lifeline because I put on those glasses. I stood up, like literally like Pinocchio. I stood up and I walked in a straight line for the first time.
Wow.
And I cried. Every one of those doctors, those students, and my daughter was there, and I was in tears because I knew I could drive.
Hmm.
I could read and not just pick up. It's not about picking up a book and reading. Like reading is like everything in our world
Right.
when you think about reading, right? It's everything, it's connected to everything in our world.
And some of the things that we don't think about that take reading are the most confusing, right? Like
Hmm.
when you were talking before we started about going to the grocery store. And I've heard that from other
Hmm.
TBI or stroke patients too, that those basic everyday tasks that you have to do to survive become
Hmm.
challenging things you can even try to do.
Yeah. I still, like, if I'm too tired and I don't even realize it, I will still err
Mm.
with my reading, with my eyes. I wrote this statement. I said, accepting myself for who I am now, not what I am now, because of my lack of abilities instead of my capabilities. And I didn't rewrite it or anything because I was like, that's something. Like, I need to remind myself of that, to accept myself for who I am now, not because of my lack of abilities. Because I always am prefacing, well, because. No, I have many capabilities. I don't need to preface because of my lack of ability.
Right.
And that's something that I think I need. That's like a to do. That's a to do for me.
The reminder that you need to post up and say, remember
Hmm.
you have the
Hmm.
capacity.
Yeah. 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 That's one of the ongoing journeys.
Right. Well, I mean, we all become who we are based on the experiences that we have, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now that you've had this experience, you have this wealth of knowledge to share with people who are going through similar problems, right?
Yeah.
Others who've
Yeah.
had brain injuries. And I think that we discount the challenges the severity of injury that people incur when you have that kind of a thing happen to you. And
Yeah.
there's just a general lack of understanding about the whole problem that we want
Yeah.
to dispel some of the misunderstandings about that.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah.
What made you keep going during this process? Because I'm sure you had to have had lots of disappointment and lots of points in time where you were ready to give up on the whole thing, right?
I did. I had a couple big setbacks. I got divorced
Wow.
um, in the middle of it all. I was adamant that my marriage would not fall um, to my brain injury, although I was assured by many that it would. I was sure it wouldn't. I was adamant it wouldn't, and it did. And it did because of the brain injury on my spouse's part. And so that was a setback, although I came to realize that it was not so much for, I mean, you come to see it for what it is. I also, the initial going back to work, that initially failed the first time. And that was really hard. That was really hard. And I hope this doesn't sound terrible, but prior to my accident, I had never really failed.
Mm.
I was that person that, and I should preface this, I'd never really failed professionally. So I was that person, dangle the carrot, she gets the carrot, give her the next project, she gets the carrot. That was me.
Sure.
Um, so when I said, I'm ready to go back to work, I
Mhm.
just assumed I was going to go back to work. I was going to be fine. I even went, um, I was even lucky enough to have my former employment reach back to me and ask me to come back and work on some special projects, which was amazing. And I did that for, oh my gosh, like almost 9 months. And I was semi successful at it. In their eyes, I was wholly successful at it.
Mhm.
But in my eyes,
What I'm hearing is it wasn't the way you knew you could have done it probably prior to the accident, and so it wasn't
exactly,
good enough.
exactly. And that's what I told them. And I had to push them to understand that. They're a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful employer. And my executive director at the time, I still am highly attached to her. And I literally was like, I think the words I used honestly were, I can't see taking up the wage per hour
Mm.
when you could be doing this with these folks because I feel like I'm not performing, and of course they said all kinds of great things, which is wonderful.
Right.
But that was the view I had of myself.
Mm.
Right. And so it took me, that was 2019. I didn't go back to work again until like the end of 2021.
Wow.
So it took me a while. And I went back to work again for the marketing company. I had tried a couple little things. I greet friends, friends reached out. They were like, try this, try that, come to work for us, do little things here. But it was all too much. Some of it was office work, some of it was, working in food and beverage. But I couldn't do multitasked, multi-layered work
Wow.
in an environment where I had to also interact with people because I couldn't.
There was
Like
too
this
much
wasn't,
going on. Yeah.
yep, yep, I could. It was sensory. I just couldn't do it. And I tried it twice. And then I told my friends, I can't, I appreciate what you guys are trying to do for me.
Yeah.
But, of course, they're trying to be helpful and I love them so much.
Mhm.
Right. But I just, and so going back to Acosta worked out very, really well for me because I was working by myself, basically for myself, doing it on a handheld device. I mean, it was perfect, was perfect. And that worked out really, really well until, for like I did that for a year and a half or so before I ended up um, deciding, okay, I'm ready for the next step. A colleague of mine actually told me that, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for full-time work. I think I'm ready for full-time. I could kind of tell, I was getting bored. I could tell things were amping up.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you tell us is that, it's been a slow process,
Hmm.
have gradually gotten to the point where now you can do things that you couldn't do before, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Even this last like 6 to 8 months, um, probably like last fall, I found a new acupuncturist. Um, I joined a gym working on kind of rebuilding some strength, some balance, some things like that. Out of that has come, I am actually, this is brand new. Um, just since February, I am able to sit down and I'm read a book.
Wow,
And that's brand new. Like I couldn't do that last summer because I tried. I couldn't do it last fall because I tried.
wow.
We've had to change some medications. My neurologist and I have had to change some medications because of the activity level, not the book reading, but the activity level. With that changing of the medication, the activity level, the acupuncture, the cupping's amazing. Um, Kind of all of that together, I kind of found my new jam. So the sandwich is looking pretty good. And then out of that, all of a sudden, like I can read.
Mm,
Like I can sit down and read and retain. So read and retain, which is like hugely huge. Like, and I
yeah,
think that push of confidence or assuredness maybe is what is making me feel like, okay, I'm ready to reach out to the support community again,
yeah,
because that came hand in hand. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
okay.
That's okay, where I'm at right now.
Yeah. So it's been years of recovery for you.
It has. It was 3/15/16, and it's 6, whatever to 8,
Mm,
25. So we're like 9 years.
yeah.
We're 9 years.
And each month you have
Wow.
some new development, it sounds like.
I feel
Right.
like it.
Group of months.
Yeah.
You say, okay, now I can do these things that I couldn't do last month, last year, 2 or 3 years ago. They're all new.
Yeah. I feel like it's definitely I continue to make forward progress. Even so, that's such a good statement, Denise. That's a really good statement. And I'm going to ask you, see what you think.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you're in it, sometimes when I'm in it, I kind of feel bogged down. I'm like, just like, oh, slogging through it like cement shoes. But then I look back and I'm like, oh, I kind of was doing all these things. And now all of a sudden I'm stronger and I can read this book and retain it. And I'm ready to take these steps. I've seen this play out like multiple times as my healing has come along. So
Right.
guys, sometimes you don't think that you're making progress, but then when you get through that period of time, if you're able to look back through it, you kind of really were. You just, you know what I mean? Does that?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So, and I
yeah,
think that hearing about your journey is helpful for people who are maybe at the beginning or in the middle of their own recovery, right? Because
yeah,
you can't see the end when you're at the beginning
yeah,
or in the
yeah,
middle, right? And so I think it's helpful for you to say, "Oh, guess what? There's light at the end of this tunnel," right?
yeah,
And
for
and
sure.
what would you tell people who are, at the beginning or in the middle or somewhere in the mess of it?
It's gonna make me cry.
Oh,
Um, You know, I'm so sorry.
Nope, don't.
Um, I have the words. I was trying to get myself together. Um, Never give up on yourself. Never give up on yourself. Um, People are going to come and go
Mhm.
because a brain injury is very isolating. And you will be surprised at the people that will come and go.
Mm.
That's okay because you will always be there for yourself.
Right.
So never give up and listen to yourself and push forward and trust yourself because it is a long journey and there's no fast track.
Mhm.
So taking it slow, giving yourself grace, being accepting of who you are, to make mistakes and learn as you go. I live a life that I honestly didn't think I would ever have again. I was on full Social Security disability
Mm.
and really thought that that was going to be my life.
Wow.
And now I live in where I will probably be happy for a very, very, very long time in a job that I love that's setting me up for a future that I can count on and I can continue to push forward with my recovery. So never giving up and always looking like toward to yourself. I want to make this one statement. I learned when I was in vision therapy that being selfish is not a bad thing. Being selfish is about loving yourself and putting yourself first. I had never been a person that put myself first in my whole life. Yes, I worked hard. I did all of that as type A personality, but I had never put myself first. So you have to be selfish. You have to put yourself first. You have to think about what you need.
Mhm.
And that's okay to do that. You have to do that.
Yeah. Well, you can't be in a position to really help other people if
Mm-mm.
you aren't whole yourself, right? If you have
Exactly.
got
A hundred percent.
your own recovery taken
A
care of.
100%. 100%. I hadn't said those words about the selfish for a really long time.
Mm.
I had forgotten that, but I believe that to be very true.
Well, I think the word selfish has a bad connotation, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I wouldn't even necessarily call it being selfish.
Hmm.
That because it's self-preservation at this point when you have an
It
incident,
is.
right? And so you
Yeah.
say, "Okay, in order for me to get back to the person that I know I need to be,
Hmm.
right? A recovered, fully functioning person, this is what I
Yeah.
have to do."
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you have to do it. And I came to that realization when I found people in my personal life, not my children or my siblings, but I found people in my personal life that were presenting barriers.
Mhm.
And I was like, is this really happening? Because when you have a brain injury, you're like, is that real? Is that not real? I mean, there's a lot of gray.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized I was like, okay, this is a whole different level of, fight or flight. This is, like you said, a self-preservation situation. So I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to make it happen just like I make everything else happen. It's just going to be
Yeah.
on a different level. It's going to be on,
Yes.
we're just going to max it up a little bit. Um, so it is going to be what it is. And it's not turned out terrible. It's not turned out terrible. Yeah, no, I love that. I like the self-preservation piece better. I might have to change that word because always, I mean, people get what I'm saying when I say the word selfish, but it always throws everybody off because they hear selfish and they're like, oh my gosh, selfishness. But I think self-preservation, that might even be better.
Well, I'm glad you like that.
Yeah, I do like that. I like that. I do. I do. I do.
Reframing. It's just reframing.
Yeah, no, reframing is great. I love that. I love that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your journey with us today. It's been amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
You
It's
have,
been great to go back over it. So I appreciate that. I remembered so much, which is really great. And so that's awesome. I love it.
yeah. Do you have any last words of wisdom that you want to leave our listeners with?
Um, I would say, be an advocate for yourself. That's the most important thing. And if something's not working, then move off of that and don't wait because you can feel if something's not working.
Yeah. And if
Yeah.
you're trying to accelerate your recovery,
Hmm.
listening to those little promptings or
Yeah,
nudges, can maybe work you into a faster recovery than
for sure.
eating would.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think, being your own advocate, I use that a lot in all the work I've ever done, but I think especially in this situation, you have to be your own advocate, listening to your gut, but then also any little piece of information you can glean from anybody is amazing. Like I've gotten some of my best pieces of therapy or just off of the smallest conversation, like what oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, no, that, like little angel, I call them angels in my pocket. Like I
Yeah.
have these little angels in my pocket that have just said the smallest little thing, and it's just, like that's how I ended up at vision therapy, just the smallest little thing, because again, we don't know what we don't know, we don't know what brain injuries ultimately where they're going to wind to. So, yeah,
Okay. So listen to the angels in your pocket.
listen to the angels in your pocket.
I
Absolutely.
love that. I love that.
Absolutely. I really enjoy speaking with you, and I look forward to going back and listening to the rest of your podcast.
Oh, I appreciate that. I hope that there's gonna be some in there that you can gain some
Yeah,
benefits.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate you having me on. So, thank you so much.
Thank you for being on. Thank you for listening to the Healing Our Sight podcast. I'd love to hear from you. Please share and also join our Facebook community at Healing Our Sight to leave suggestions or comments. Have a great day.